Welcome to the Boxcar Playhouse, or the back wall of the concession stand to the Boxcar Playhouse. I'm Nick Olivero, and I'm one of the artistic directors of the theater.
And I am Peter Matthews, the other artistic director of the theater.
And when we're not fighting crime, we're doing theater. So
we're giving great introductions to interviews.
So the 2009-2010 season, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yo, yeah.
11 shows.
Snap.
What do you think?
Oh, I don't have much of a thought. I think that we, it's, buck the trend. Just go for it.
Yeah. We decided while everyone was cutting back their shows, we figured we'd do 3 times as many as any normal company.
If we're going to go down, we'll go down in flames. So,
and that doesn't include the 4 children's shows we're going to do, so that brings us up to 15.
15.
So we have defined this season, we've themed it as reimagining the familiar. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, one of the things that we actually did with this season was we looked at really focusing on directorial concepts for projects, and so what we were looking at was taking scripts that people already recognize and turning them on their head. So reimagining the familiar. So Romeo and Juliet, which we're doing to open the season, is a reinterpretation of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, where Juliet is actually played by a young man, and it's looking at what is forbidden now as opposed to what was forbidden 500 years ago. So, well, 420. So taking it and turning it on its head, and taking another sort of radical departure is taking Eve Ensler's vagina monologues and looking at really reinterpreting them into Project V, which we'll still be doing the vagina monologues as part of that whole project, but also looking at creating our own new vagina experience. So in a theatrical way. So Sarah Savage, the creative producer for that project, is finding, like a stand-up comic, a choreographer, a musician, film, things like that, where
sketch comedy,
telling a new kind of story associated with an update.
And then there's the absolute insane of doing Tennessee Williams in repertoire with the 3 most well-known Tennessee Williams plays. So,
which we can't claim, credit for being the only people ever to do him in repertory, but
no.
We can claim credit for doing 3 of his projects in repertory with 3 directors with very strong visions, but 1 design team. So ultimately, the audience
and one cast
and one cast, double cast. So the audience will come into those shows and ideally they will see all 3, so that they get to see a very different interpretation of what Tennessee Williams' work.
I mean, it's not that anyone else has ever done rep before, but we've never done rep, and our ability to do rep remains to be seen. But I'm
from a scheduling standpoint.
But if we can do a show on a moving bus, and we could do living rooms, we could do 3 shows in our own theater.
That's true. We can do it at the same time.
At the same time, so I feel confident about.
No, but I also think, in just sort of my, personally, selfishly again, in my process as being trained and all of that. One of the things that
you were trained?
I know. Who knew? One of the things that was really always interesting to me was this idea that so many people avoid Tennessee Williams and Eugene O'Neill and Arthur Miller and George Bernard Shaw, because it's like, oh, they're overdone. And so I'm really fascinated in looking at them with a fresh perspective.
Quite a while.
Well, and clearly also, something we've toyed with is puppetry, and so S.P. Parks, who did the puppetry for Where the Sidewalk Ends, which was to date our most successful project, is actually working on a project of her own that we're. As the
season is reimagining the familiar, or as we like to call it, turning
theater on its head.